Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by DieHard. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
This is MotorWeek podcast number 103. I am not John Davis, however. Just attempting to fill in for him. I am Brian Robinson, one of the writers here, along with our other faithful writer, Patrick Lucas.
Hello.
Road test producer, Ben Davis.
In the house.
And Greg Carlos.
I'm also in the house, just
all right.
in the different part of the house.
We are actually in a real house as well, we should mention. We won't say whose it is.
Your share of the utilities bills, too.
10-4. All right, but rest assured, we will have the usual rundown here of a few cars we've been testing recently, as well as a lightning round question and a viewer question. So we'll get right into it with the 2014 Audi RS7. And actually the most powerful Audi you can buy here in the States, not the R8 as some might expect. Who's driven it and who wants to talk about it?
I drove it. I would like to talk about it as well. It's I mean, whatever you just said, it's the fastest Audi that they produce in the States, and I mean, it is fast. It's hard not to drive fast in that car. I mean, I know it's got this like the cylinder deactivation, so when you are driving lightly, it shuts off for the cylinder, so you're running essentially in V4 mode. But honestly, I dare you to try and drive slow enough to actually experience that. But I imagine I came across it, but it never really made itself apparent to me that I was in V4 mode. So, you know, if it actually did come on while I was driving, I didn't notice it. So kudos to Audi on that one.
It certainly had a lot of power off the line, but I think even more impressively when you were already doing like 70 or 80 and you got on it, I think it would just take off like few cars I've driven.
I definitely didn't have it up that high.
Yeah, right. I was just in the driveway and leave it here.
Not only do you have ultimate power, but there's just so many creature comforts in that car too. So you have the best of both worlds, absolutely.
Yeah, car sounds ridiculous. You can get it sounding really, really loud and like aggressive, but I was surprised. I guess driving moderately, normal commuting driving, it's pretty quiet. It can kind of, reserve itself a lot, like with the cylinder deactivation, the noise. You can commute well, and then you can really get on it, and it's a totally different car.
Did you have it in its loudest setting and noticed that it was quiet when you were commuting?
No, I didn't really play around too much with all the different modes. I just, other than like sport mode, stuff
I
like
went
that.
to straight loudest so you could go every time I started it up.
Yeah, it does sound good.
Yeah, on startup especially, it had the nice crack to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, especially when we took it to the track. Every shift, I mean, it was accompanied by that crack. It was awesome. And speaking of track, I mean, this thing just has phenomenal grip with Quattro. I mean, we got it to, I think, 3.8 or whatever the factory projections are for that engine. We got right on it, and that's sub 4, so really phenomenal at the track. And that's one of my favorite engines, that 4-liter twin turbo. That's the same one, I think, in the Bentley GTV8.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so
sweet engine. And like Benny said, the interior is like off the charts nice. I mean, I'm not sure who Audi's competing with other than themselves as far as like just totally awesome interiors.
Well, I guess some would say maybe Mercedes, but I prefer Audi myself.
Yeah, I mean, I know we kind of went overboard on the S-Class when we talked about that interior. I think the Audis are still.
What's the RS7 price as we tested it?
What am I supposed to remember that?
I don't know. Like 120?
No, I was thinking more 140.
Is it really that much?
It was, I can't remember what exactly that price was. I would say over 120.
I just remember being
140,
surprised that it was that expensive. I mean, I know it's ridiculous performance, really nice, but it just doesn't look like that expensive of a car.
Well, okay, looks. Does anybody not sold on the look of the
I love the look of it, but
super aggressive. Well, it's weird. If somebody were to say to me before this car came in, how do you like the A7, S7? I would have said, I'm not a super big fan of it, but the longer you're around it, the more it grows on you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was super aggressive looking. I thought it was pretty tame, almost sleeper.
I guess our levels of aggression are skewed. Then.
Depends what angle you're. If you're like real down low, looking at a dead on, it's pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I
But
don't
from a lot of
remember.
other
I don't remember
angles-
the exact price, but I do remember it was $25,000 over an S7 base price. So I don't know. I doubt that many people that buy them are even getting all the performance out of an S7. So I mean, is it just bragging rights buying the RS7? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of wonder how many of those cars actually make it to a track for recreational use or something like that. But I guess in areas where there's motor clubs, maybe.
Motor clubs.
I love motor clubs.
Have to check that out. All right, moving on to a car that's just as exciting, but a few less horsepower would be the all-new Subaru Legacy. That's right. Also all-wheel drive, much like the Audi RS7. Also a four-door. And
That's about it.
What are you trying to say, man?
He's just grasping for a segue.
And now,
Just can't find it.
and now I've run out of comparisons. All right. Anybody else want to drop in on that?
Yeah, it's going from the RS7 to the no. It's a perfectly fine car. I know I had complaints, and I think a few other people did. It's just like it's almost like an emotionless car. It just doesn't really instill a lot of feelings from me one way or the other. I mean, it's perfectly fine. It gets you where you need to go. It's definitely an upgraded interior over other Subarus. It looks fine on the outside, but it just doesn't really have anything that separates it for me. From a Camry or an Accord.
How do you guys feel about the much-needed new audio system?
Yeah, it was a vast improvement. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best out there, but they went from certainly the worst out there to one of the best.
Is that? I don't know if anybody else can answer this question. It's very similar to Toyota's new Entune system, and I know there might be some crossover there between Subaru and Toyota.
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, I noticed some definite similarities there. I just didn't know if anybody knew anything further. Maybe Patrick, our writer researcher.
I do not know. I couldn't tell you. It's certainly very similar. But yeah, I mean, I think every car in that segment is kind of whatever. So I mean, now it's just as good as the best car in that segment, I would say.
And it's all-wheel drive. So
You got that going on.
They're definitely the only ones that have that standard. Most don't even have it available.
And I'm sure it crashes maybe pretty well.
Yeah, it does have the new
Crash as well.
with the eyesight system.
I know, but we didn't.
Well, we didn't. Yeah, for some reason
we've had that and the Outback both, and they sent us the 6-cylinder, which I can't imagine hardly anybody buys. And they don't send us the eyesight, which they tout as being the greatest safety system.
Yeah, it's highly ranked.
What are you hiding, Subaru?
And this has the full-on, full auto braking up to. I think they do up to like almost 30 miles an hour or something like that.
So maybe it doesn't crash so easily or well.
Subaru's always been one of the front runners in high strength steels and crash safety. So they've got an aura of safety around them, much like Volvo has.
Yeah, and I think to the blandness appliance like part, that was kind of their mission with the car, was to make it more mainstream. I think they felt the previous design was too, I don't know. Too exciting for the segment, maybe. I don't know if that's the word.
Kind of like what Mazda did with the 6 from, I guess, last generation. Mazda 6 took a step towards the mundane, whereas the one where my 05 that I have was kind of a sporty version of it. And then they realized, we made a mistake. Let's go back to the sporty styling.
And here's a manual trans too. We're the only ones that will let you have one of those.
The Legacy's here with only CVT only, right? You can't get anything else.
Manual or automatic.
That's the man's starting to beat me down on that one. Like, I just don't even care anymore. Like, CVTs, they're starting to get pretty decent. I mean,
as far as they go, the Subaru one's pretty nice.
They build them with those steps so that it
actually
more or less feels
like
an automatic
transmission.
Still, though, if you're like merging on the highway, it's a full-on buzz.
Yeah, there's some awkwardness, definitely.
All right, I guess we covered that. Moving on to the Volkswagen e-Golf. I imagine by the E in front of the Golf, we're talking about some type of electric vehicle.
You would be correct. So yeah, that's a beautiful segue.
Right on.
The Golf is all new, totally redesigned this year, and so Volkswagen decided to jump on the electric vehicle bandwagon, as a lot of people are, and it's a pretty good attempt. I mean, the technology is pretty much on par with other EVs that have come out in the last couple of years, Leaf, Spark EV, stuff like that. I mean, 70 to 90 mile range. It's got like a top speed of 87 miles an hour, so you're not going to be going fast, but you wouldn't want to because you'd kill your range anyway. Charging is, I don't know, around 4 hours with the optional 240-volt charger. It's got the DC fast charging, which is like 80% charge in 30 minutes. The standout feature for the e-Golf that I noticed over other electric vehicles that I've been in personally is just the fact that it feels a lot more familiar than other things. Like you get in the Leaf, and that thing is just like, all right, I'm gonna have to take like 5 minutes, look at everything, figure out how to get this thing even like in drive with that weird shifter. Not all these weird like gauges and stuff like that. This is a lot more normal. It's just like a shift knob that you pull down into drive mode, and you're driving. Everything feels normal. So it's not technologically an improvement over anything that you can get right now, but comfort, livability, stuff like that. It's definitely the most normal and should be appealing.
Similar to like the Ford Focus EV,
right? Exactly.
Exactly the same, but just the electric motor. Well, as far as handling, is it hanging there with the rest of the Golf lineup?
Well, so far I've only driven the GTI. I haven't driven a base Golf, but it felt I wouldn't say nimble, but I mean it felt fine to drive on the road like any other compact hatchback like that.
Is it? When's it available for purchase? Wasn't there some talk of it not coming over here?
I think it's going on. They're doing that like select market on sale thing. I think the first quarter of next year. So
Gotcha.
I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months from now, maybe. So I don't know if it'll ever be a mainstream availability, but I guess people like California, that West Coast market.
Did they say pricing or anything?
Yeah, around $36,000, which is a lot when you think about it, because I was just looking up the 2015 Leaf prices. After that government rebate, you can get one for like $21,000.
Yeah, they've been lowering their prices on the Leaf.
But this does come only in one trim level, which is the top trim level of the Golfs. So you're getting, I think it's all LED headlights, leather or leatherette, whatever they use. that faux leather seat cover, stuff like that, navigation, stuff like that. So I mean, it's, I don't know. I guess it's Volkswagen right now, just trying to say we're doing this too.
Yeah, cool. It's interesting. We had a whole wave of EVs there for a while, and then the last couple of years it's kind of tapered off.
Yep.
And now we're kind of getting started back up again. This one, I think the Soul EV is coming out, and it seems to be more along that line, more of like a normal car now, just an EV drive.
Yeah, the Leaf definitely got like electric cars really mainstream, but then I don't know, the interior was just a little funky for me, and I think a lot of people when they see it, between the outside design and the interior, some of the knobs and switchgear and stuff like that, I think this more mainstream approach and not messing with the base car that it's based on I think will work better.
I don't know. There's always something to be said for people driving an EV. They kind of want they want everyone to know that they're driving an eco freak mobile and they're better than you because they're doing their part for the environment.
Yeah,
right?
It's a toss up right now.
Wow, now that you're angry.
Talked about that aggressiveness. Wrong car, I guess. Anybody else? Any impressions on the e-Golf?
We'll have a quick spin coming up soon.
Right on. So stay tuned for that. Also stay tuned for our test of LaFerrari. You may have heard about it. If you haven't, then tune in on October 3rd when we'll have a test on that exclusively very rare Ferrari that very few people will get to own.
Extremely rare. And it's, the one we test is actually the first one in the country.
Very nice.
Yeah, so...
there's only 4 currently in the country. That's one of 4 in the country.
Wow. And if you're listening to this on October 4th, then I don't know what to tell you other than maybe you have to look it up online, maybe, right?
Could be more by then.
Yeah, really. We'll have to update you as they come in.
Oh, I'm sure they might get wrecked here and there, so the number may stay pretty steady.
Okay, let's move on to our lightning round, where we have 2 minutes to debate this topic. And then we'll hear a bell. All right. Good. Nice and short one. Don't have to read a whole lot. 2016 Mazda MX-5 Miata debuted recently. How we feeling about it?
Awesome.
Really?
Yep, awesome.
Yeah, that car looks amazingly awesome.
Wow.
You can definitely tell the Alfa influences there through the profile. And I think they took a lot of the cartoon look out of the front end where it looked like a koi fish a little bit. Now it looks much more aggressive and much more awesome.
It's part of the whole, what is it, Kodo, Soul of Motion?
Soul of Motion.
Yeah.
Dropping knowledge.
Yeah, so that started with, I think the CX-5 started with that, and then came in the Mazda 6, Mazda 3, and now the MX-5 with that whole style. And yeah, it looks way better than the last one that we tested. Not to say that, well, I will say I just didn't like the styling of the previous MX-5. It's just, it looked really... like Ben said, cartoonish and a lot like a koi fish. So
it looked like a tattoo art version of what a Miata used to look like.
Well, I don't think too many people were buying them for the looks. I think they were buying them despite of the looks.
Well, now people can buy them for the looks. It looks way better.
We've officially declared that to be the case.
Is there any rumored powertrain upgrades, or is
it's
it
Sky
just...
Active? I know that. I don't think they said. I haven't seen anything else as far as numbers or anything, but I assume it's just 4-cylinder.
I can't imagine they'd mess with that too much.
Normally aspirated.
That's a shame. Hopefully they'll plop the 4C motor in it at some point with the turbo.
Yeah, a car needs a small turbo. Hopefully,
Or
I'm sure
one out of the Abarth would be cool.
Yeah.
We got a couple interior shots too, didn't we? I don't think it was like a pre-mock-up. I think it was an actual picture or something, but it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it looked much upgraded. And then now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember if they tacked on that. A lot of the companies are starting to put the nav screen as like an add-on feature. Not that it is an add-on, but it's like clipped to the
on
dash.
top of the dash. Yeah,
I hate that. Mercedes is doing it now, and it's like I really dislike it. I'm not sure why. That's becoming a trend.
Oh, good timing. Crazy
That's
how that
uncanny
works.
how that is.
All right, let's move on to our viewer question. A viewer, to be named later, would like to know some good recommendations for a 2-door, 4 or 5 passenger cars that get high MPGs, meaning more than 40 miles per gallon. It's a very specific car this gentleman or lady is looking for.
He must work for Volkswagen or something. Must just want us to talk about Volkswagen. Because the only one I can think of is a TDI Golf in a 2-door variant. If you even can get a 2-door TDI, I imagine it would be hard to track one down if you really wanted one.
What's a Civic get MPG-wise, a 2-door Civic? It's got to be close to 40, highway anyway, right?
Yeah.
I could
This
believe
says
that.
high. Oh, you're talking I thought you meant in the 40s. Up
Well,
to 40.
probably like 40 would be the
Yeah.
benchmark if
Yeah.
you get it on the highway, because I don't think you're going to... I mean, it's already a rare group, I think, but, that 40 number, if you could get it on the highway, I think it would fit in that category. But I don't see why you wouldn't just get the 2 extra doors and find way more cars with
Absolutely.
Versus a Note.
You mean
It's like
Note,
42 or something like that.
When they stay a little sportier, maybe this Miata might get high 30s. Hard to say.
that. 1
maybe
liter
a Mini.
Fiesta.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. I mean, if you really like to drive, though, I'd imagine that TDI Golf is your best bet.
If you can handle 2 more doors, you get a lot more choice.
Yeah, and more room too. I mean, these technically are 4 to 5 passenger cars, but not something you want to put adults in the rear seats for sure.
And if you can live with 3 passengers, the Scion IQ, what was that MPG wise? That's got to be.
I don't think it was that
I don't think it's
great,
crazy.
was it?
It's in the high
Yeah.
30s, I think, like 38 maybe.
Well, then that's not in the category.
Yeah, that was a disappointment.
Yeah, all those
around
cars
that
are
car.
designed
Yeah.
more for parking than
Yeah.
super high fuel economy.
So yeah, I guess go for 4 doors, or it looks like you're in a Volkswagen TDI.
Or a pure EV.
Yeah, a
Can you
TDI
get a
wouldn't be
two-door
bad
EV?
though. I mean, are we sure that we can get that in a 2-door, 3-door?
Hey,
Does it work?
you're definitely pushing 40 MPG. The vehicle in a 2-door.
Yeah,
Don't quote us.
Not for sure. I know. Obviously, you can get a GTI in a 2-door. So I'd imagine that it would be possible. I don't know for sure. Like I said, I'm a 4-door guy all the way.
yeah. Don't hate on the 4 doors. Right on. Got nothing else to add? Anybody else got anything else to add?
No,
Negative.
All right. Well, stay tuned. We'll have much more on all those cars coming up. And Rest assured, our host, John Davis, will be back for the next podcast, hopefully. And until then, I'd like to thank audio engineer Jim Bigwood, podcast creator Bob Mixter, and podcast producer Patrick Lucas.
Hey.
All right, Patrick.
Hey.
Good job.
Great job.
And
guys.
be sure to check us out on our website and all the social media places that everyone knows about. And,
Except for you.
Except for Brian.
Come on, I know about them. I just don't participate in them. It's a big difference.
As he closes his
It's a
flip
big
phone.
All right. On that note, thanks for watching Motor Week, and we'll see you later.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by Die Hard. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.